Hello again and welcome to News Across Nigeria. I'm Olumide Macaulay. On the program today, the appeal court reserves judgment in an appeal filed by the governor of Abia State, Ikpeazu, challenging the judgment of the Federal High Court that sacked him as governor of the state. The federal government steps up efforts to improve standard of basic education in the country, unveils National Education Quality Assurance Handbook. And the police begins hunt for Tawase Akwaza, also known as Ghana, 24 hours after the Benue State government terminated the amnesty pardon granted the wanted militant. Thank you for joining us. We begin in the Federal Capital Territory, where the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has reserved judgment in an appeal filed by the governor of Abia State, Ikpeazu, who is challenging the judgment of the Federal High Court, which sacked him as governor of the state. Mr. Ikpeazu had filed the appeal against the judgment of Justice Okon Abang, delivered on the 27th of June. Justice Abang had ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to issue his challenger in the 2015 People's Democratic Party governorship primaries, Uche Oga, with a certificate of return after the court disqualified Mr. Ikpeazu over tax evasion. The appeal court, presided over by Honorable Justice Moreni Keji Ogumiju, last week dismissed the application of Alex Oti seeking to be joined in the matter as an interested party. The five-man bench of the Court of Appeal also directed that parties to the case should not take further steps until the appeal court's judgment on the case is delivered. And the federal government has presented a National Education Quality Assurance Handbook as part of efforts to improve the standard of basic education in the country. Speaking in Abuja at the official launch of the book, the Minister of Education, Mr. Adamu, says there's a need for teaching standards to be harmonized at all levels of education below the tertiary level. He reaffirms the government's commitment to ensure improved quality in the standards of basic and secondary education. The Chief Education Officer of UNICEF pledged the support of the fund towards improving the quality of education in Nigeria.
The handbook is for the evaluation of schools below the tertiary level. As a concept, education quality assurance in Nigeria represents a very radical shift in thinking from the former practice of school inspection to a monitoring and evaluating process that provides a new operative mode of evaluation.
Quality assurance is an ongoing activity rather than a one-off one, enabling the education system to monitor its performance, the inputs into the system, and the dynamics that shape the results. This means that the interactions of teachers, learning materials, and the environment within which learning takes place all contribute to the outcomes of the learning, commonly also referred to as a learning achievement.
For the power sector, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, wants consumers to learn to conserve energy and support the nation's bid to achieve stable power supply. Speaking at a meeting in Maiduguri, in Borno State, northeast Nigeria, Mr. Fashola says the increased power supply experienced lately is in line with the federal government's roadmap for the sector.
Key players in the energy sector meet in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, for the 8th monthly stakeholders pally convened by the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, to identify and brainstorm on solutions to the critical challenges that the electricity industry is faced with.
More importantly, is to also ask you to assist us in educating people on the need to conserve electricity, driving to the Damba station now, the Honorable Minister of State, and I saw not a few shops with their electricity bulbs still switched on at 11:10 a.m. in the morning. Now that is energy that is just being wasted.
One knotty issue which is top on the agenda is how to reserve energy. The host, Yola Distribution Company, believes building a viable power sector is possible and suggests how wastage can be reduced.
Improving energy supply by helping to conduct energy audits of their residents' needs to be submitted through a template which should be designed for onward circulation and guidance. By educating residents about conservation of energy by switching off bulbs and appliances that are not in use.
After all the talk, the minister takes time to check a substation near Damboa, which is under construction. It is expected to boost power supply in the host state and its environs when it's completed.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Electricity Management Service Agency has warned electrical installation contractors without certification from the agency to get it or risk prosecution. Speaking in Abuja, the managing director of NEMSA, Mr. Peter Eweso, said the penalty for not acquiring the certificate is a 3-year jail term or a fine of 500,000 naira. He said in addition to the imprisonment and fine, the holders of the certificates had sanctions which range from suspension of license, a repeat of the installation if it had not caused havoc, and permanent withdrawal of the certificate if the installation led to an accident that caused loss of life.
Many lapses have been identified in the power sector and other workplaces where electricity is used in the area of electrical installations, which have resulted to unstable network and fire incidences over the years. You find out that we need to have people we are going to hold responsible to ensure that only qualified, competent, certified persons are allowed to carry out electrical installation works, either in our homes, either in factories, in commercial places, in the electricity industry, generation, transmission and distribution. All these are to guide against those we've listed, because if somebody is a qualified and competent person, he definitely knows he must do his work in line with his laid down procedures, in line with laid down standards and requirements. He will not do anything that will tarnish his or her image than to cause electrical accident that take people's life.
That meeting held in the north central in Abuja, but now to the south and Port Harcourt, the Calabar-Itu highway continues to make the news, with commuters crying out for help concerning the deplorable condition of the road. The NDDDC, that is the Niger Delta Development Commission, has promised to do palliative works on some sections of the road. Inspecting some parts of it in River State Axis, the acting managing director of the commission, Mrs. Ibimse Menitari, says the repair work will make the road usable in the interim, pending the proper construction and beginning of the rehabilitation exercise.
This is the River State axis of the Port Harcourt-Itu Calabar Highway. Now in a very deplorable state and overstretched 40 years after it was built. Like many other roads in the region, it lacks drainage channels, making it flooded and its surface constantly eroded. Users of this infrastructure continue to beg authorities to do something urgently about the condition.
I am not feeling comfortable at all, and we have been observing these things for a long time.
The government do something about this road, because our driver will suffer
Driver is suffering.
With recent television reports exposing the degree of deterioration and neglect, a Niger Delta Development Commission team led by the acting managing director, Mrs. Ibimse Menitari, has come to assess the situation.
If we do palliatives, how? Because we need to be sure that it's going to be money spent. Well, if we do palliatives, is that going to give how much support can we bring?
We can gain a lot of money.
There are about 7-9 days traveling. People at the stretch.
Mrs. Seminitary gives an assurance that there will be palliative measures put in place to reduce the suffering of users.
There have been several reports and requests from residents and people across the two states. So we thought we should come today that is not a very busy day and see for ourselves, because if we're going to do emergency work, then let's be sure that we can't wait and do it fully. And it's really bad. Like you can see, they were cut off here completely.
As the condition of the roads in the Niger Delta region continue to tell on the lives of people and their vehicles, those living along the highway are also praying for a prompt action from the federal government to rescue their ancestral homes from flooding.
Other roads to be fixed as well, this time in the southwest. We'll tell you what the Ogun State government is saying about the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Stay with us.